Hello again, everybody. Josh Hoover from BTR here, and wanted to go a different direction with our video interview conversation today. There's a lot of things changing, and homeschooling is becoming a bigger issue. So what we wanted to do is bring in a friend of ours. A few of us are friends from BTR with Amanda Robison. She is a professional in the homeschooling industry. So just wanted to have a conversation with her and have her share some ideas and thoughts about what she's experienced and how different parents can react to the homeschooling challenges today. So Amanda, the first question I have for you is, what have parents been reaching out and asking you?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is how do we balance the expectations of working at home now with our child receiving schoolwork from their teachers and completing that during the day. So a lot of friends are asking me, how do we compartmentalize the requirements of what the school is asking, what I feel like is my responsibility to enforce that education for my kid, to complete my own work that I'm required to be doing because I'm home now. And so I think that has been, and it sounds like from what people are asking you as well, that's the biggest question that people want to know is, how do we balance and juggle all of these responsibilities now? And it's becoming very overwhelming and even more anxiety inducing within what's already a pretty stressful time.
Yeah, and totally spot on there. That's exactly what I'm getting. So with that, I mean, how do you juggle like the school day, for example? Because I know I have the idea of, I drop my kid off at school at 7:55 and pick him up at 3. So, does he need to be in school that whole time, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so I think the first thing, just really, really honest and open, is you've got to be able to give yourself and your kid a lot of grace. And I think the school system as well, a lot of grace with what they're experiencing. My kid's school emails me every day, new updates to what they think is going to work now. And I feel like that's what I'm living in with actively homeschooling my child as well now, is that this is kind of changing every day for them, that what is working and what isn't working. So I can definitely tell you some key things that I have suggested to families and that are working, is really looking and understanding that when you are homeschooling a child one-on-one, they're getting intensive instruction at home. And this is not like in school where they are there for 8 hours of the day. They're 8 hours of a day in a class of 30 with a teacher. This is necessary. When they're home with you and getting one-on-one instruction in these subject areas, that is way too significant and improbable with what we're being asked to do right now. So really looking at developmental age and appropriateness for each kid. So elementary age students, we should be looking at maybe a total of 2 hours of intensive instruction broken up throughout the day. So that can take a lot of, oh, okay, maybe I don't need to be dedicating my full work day to educating my child. High school students are typically more self-sufficient. So looking at, for them, even helping to say, hey, you only need to be focusing on your math or your ELA class for 30 to 45 minutes at a time, and then having them do a break of something that is helpful around the house for you. So I think that's the first thing, is really understanding that the expectation of homeschooling and time is not what it was in school. So that's been really helpful for a lot of families and for me. Another thing that I have found lately is kind of throwing the expectations of the typical day of the five day a week school week. And either if your kid is having a really rough couple days, the next day breaking off from schoolwork that day and going a little bit of letting them do what is comforting and helpful for them, and picking up with schoolwork on Saturday. Nobody said that we have to be scheduling Monday through Friday with this set of expectations. If it's going to work easier for a parent work schedule, that they can't school their kid on that Friday and they can do it on Saturday instead, then make that work for your family. Research definitely says that you want kids on some type of consistent schedule, but what I can tell you from families and from experience, that doesn't mean consistent schedule is 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock. We do this. It means in the morning, we do this, and then we break for this. So just being really flexible with with yourself and your expectations for what perfection might look like. And I feel even on that end, I really want to say giving that to the schools as well. The schools, brick and mortar schools, this is not something that they have been prepared for or have experienced either. And so they aren't going to get it right this first time around or the first few times around. And so allowing some grace and flexibility in that regard too.
Yeah, well, it sounds like there's a lot of flexibility. I mean, what works for your family and your kid? I mean, I use my kids as an example. One of them is an early bird, so we make him do his reading first thing in the morning. He's probably got his reading work done by 8 a.m. The other one, probably not going to start till around right after lunchtime or something like that. But they get no screen time, the fun stuff, what they really want, until they get their work done. I think that's great. And I'll say, agreed on the schools, they're having to respond to something unique for the first time. But I got to give my school district credit. I think they've done a really good job very quickly. So I was surprised. It just a lot of resources and a lot of activity. But what voice do parents have at the school level?
That's probably the best question at this point. So parents always have a significant voice in their child's education. So in response to that question, I think my guidance to parents and families at this time is being involved in terms of communication with the teacher. So being able to say, hey, Miss So-and-so, we're not going to be able to complete all of these assignments this week because we have life going on. Can we get an extension? Being really clear. So for me, if I'm talking about mastery levels for assignments that my son needs to be working on, I'm going to be really upfront and either call his teacher, do a Zoom chat with her, or just do a video. If you can't make these live sessions that teachers are scheduling, videotape your child doing these skills and these strategies and send it to them to show, look, we are making progress in this area. So I think the key there is having a voice, flexing that voice. Communicate with your teachers, communicate with the school, letting them know where you really are, because everybody is being told this is a time of being really, like we said, really flexible, and that not all, some families have 8 kids at home now that they're trying to homeschool. Let's be honest.
Well, it's just like anything. It sounds like communication, be in constant communication and make sure everybody's on the same page. I think that makes sense. In the last 30 seconds, Amanda, give us some resources that would be helpful to people that are new to this, that may be helpful for them to learn more or pursue more.
Yeah, so kind of like everything coming out right now during COVID-19, everybody's saying stick with the facts, stick with your state. Go to your state Department of Education website, and most states have a ton of resources that they can offer you on what is the best practice to be doing right now. So I would definitely go back to your state websites. Again, your school system should be providing the resources needed for students at home. And then leaning on, all parents are doing this too. So another really great aspect of resources is leaning on your peers who are experiencing the same things at this time. There is really no catch-all for where to go and how to homeschool when you're parenting and working during a pandemic. There is no advice for that thus far. But the districts, the states are doing a really good job with trying to push all that information out when it comes to them. And so that can be typically found on websites. And then there's a lot of big corporations and states that have virtual schools and things like that I know are offering webinars. If you just go onto those company pages and look on Facebook for a lot of those as well.
Excellent. Well, Amanda, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it. I've learned a lot. So hopefully you have too. If anybody has questions, please feel free to comment, leave us a note. Want to dig more, let us know. Be happy to research more or give you whatever resources we can get. So thank you everybody for joining us today, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you.